Dear students, good morning. Today we will continue with our chapter number 4 from history, tribals, Dikus, and the vision of a golden age. In last part, we had discussed about some tribal peoples of Orissa or different parts of our nation. Today we will discuss about some herded animals, or in other language if we can say, we will discuss about shepherds. So some tribal groups are lived by herding or rearing animals, or in common, or in one word, or in India we use for them, the word we use for them is shepherds. They are wandering from one place to another place in search of food or green grass or water for their animals. They moved from one place to another place according to the seasons. The Van Gurjas of Punjab Hills and the Labadis of Andhra Pradesh were cattle herders. The Gaddis of Kulu were shepherds, and the Bakarwals of Kashmir reared the goats. So they are all called in one word. If one word for them is shepherd. When you are going by a road, on road you can see some men with their cattle. So they are called herded animals. Some took to settle cultivation. Here is a word beaver. So this word is used in Madhya Pradesh for shifting cultivation. Now what is shifting cultivations? This thing no need to discuss again. I told you what is shifting cultivation. So before 19th century, many from within the tribal groups had begun settling down. Settling down means instead of moving from one place to another place, they started to begin settling down and cultivated their field in one place year after year. They buy some lands and starting cultivation there. They plow them, they farming there, and gradually they got their rights over the land they lived on. If you are belongs to or in city or even in cities, you can see the shepherds. They came from the different part of the states and settled down here. In local language, we use the word for them is Bharwad. So basically, Bharwad are not from Charotar. If we're talking about Charotar, basically they are not from Charotar. They belongs to Kathiawar, mostly Kutch or Saurashtra, Junagadh. From that side, they are coming here in the place of food for their cattle, sheep, and goat. In the beginning, they stay here by giving rent to the panchayat of this land, and gradually as the time passes they have their own land. They buy the lands, they Gradually they got the right over the land and started lived on it. They also buy some lands and they started plugging and farming on them. So in this way we can say they, in the beginning they came here as a renter, they pay rent, and after some year they settling down there and cultivating their fields in one place year after year. Here some cases are there. In many cases like the Mundas of Chota Nagpur, the land belonged to the clan as a whole, and all the members of clan were regarded as descendants of the original settlers who had first cleared the land. Powerful men often rented out their land instead of cultivating themselves. During the time of British officials, we can show the settled tribal groups like Gondas, Santals are more civilized than hunter gatherers or shifting cultivators, and those who lived in the forests were considered to be a wild and savage. They needed to be settled and civilized. How did colonial rule affect the tribal lives? So, first we will discuss what happened to the tribal chiefs. So, before the arrival of British, in many areas of the tribal chiefs were important people. So, many tribal groups were there before the arrival of the Britishers, and those tribal groups have their headmen, or we can say tribal chief, who controls their community, who make their own rules and regulations, or we can say customs and rituals, and all the tribal people or all the group people of that tribal group have to follow those rules and regulations or customs and rituals. Different tribal groups have their own customs and rituals. They enjoyed certain amount of economic power and had the right to administer and control their territories, as I told you. Mostly they settle down in the forests, as we have seen in many movies that they have tribal groups and they have their leader, or we can say tribal chief. Under the British rule, the functions and powers of tribal chiefs changed. They were allowed to keep their land titles over the cluster of village or rent out lands. They were forced to follow the laws made by the British officials in India. They also had to pay tribute to the British and the discipline the tribal groups on behalf of the Britishers. So, in this way, they lost their authority, their power, what they had enjoyed earlier. They have to forget their traditional functions, their customs and rituals. So, now they are unable to fulfill the desires of their communities. So till here we discussed today. In our next video we will discuss more about these chapter. Till then, thank you. Have a nice day.